Hey guys, so I've decided to make a little revision series as you're preparing to revise content for the IB exams. The goal of this series is to take all of the syllabus content, all of the bullet points, and give you applicable content to those bullet points. This is meant to help you organize your studies. I definitely think that you're going to want to get a little bit more specific, get a little bit more details when you're really, really revising. Again, this is meant as a starting point. If a lot of this is totally foreign information to you, go back into your notes and study from your notes. Don't just study from this resource here. All right, let's get into it. First episode, if you will, is on authoritarian states, and we're going to start with Adolf Hitler. The first bullet point that we're going to be addressing is emergence of authoritarian states. The first of those is conditions in which authoritarian states emerged, economic factors, social division, impact of war, weakness of political systems, right? First thing I want to point out before I forget to mention it is these are all color coded. And then when I get to Castro later on in this kind of series, if you will, the same colors will be used. So impact of war is purple for Hitler, impact of war is going to be purple for Castro. All right. So when we go to impact of war, I think this is a pretty specific factor in the emergence of the Nazi ideology, right? We're going to go all the way back to World War One. We're going to talk about the humiliation of the loss of World War One. We're going to talk about the fact that the Germans fought a two-front war, a war of attrition, that the punishment that the German society faced during that war because of how hard it was to fight, how many people they lost, and they wind up losing that war, right? That's a humiliating loss for the German nationalist pride, right? That stab in the back myth that this is going to be something that the Nazis articulate, the idea that the people who betrayed the Kaiser, the people who rose up and were revolting in Berlin at the end of World War One, the idea that Jewish bankers are going to stop loaning money to the German government at the end of the war to make it so that Germany lost. That's all going to fall into that stab in the back myth that Germany was betrayed and they didn't lose the war for military reasons, right? This is going to be better articulated in the idea of the November criminals, right? These are, again, the people who signed the Weimar Constitution, the people who kind of forced the hand of the German military to sign that armistice, the people who revolt against the Kaiser. Again, those are all making up that idea later on when we get to Hitler's scapegoats as the November criminals. And then the biggest factor in all of this is the punishment that follows World War One, the Treaty of Versailles, right? The fact that Germany is not invited to the Paris Peace Conference, the fact that Germany doesn't get a 14-point style treaty. They get a treaty that is dictated by Revenge and George Clemenceau and signed off by David Lloyd George. And the fact that it's a diktat. Again, they have no say in the creation of it and no say on if they can or cannot sign the treaty when it's handed down to them. Getting into some specifics about Versailles, we've got war guilt, we've got reparations, we've got loss of all overseas colonies, we've got disarmament down to 100,000 troops, no air force, no tanks, no conscription, all that good stuff. And then we've got loss of other territories. So the Polish corridor goes away, the Alsace-Lorraine returns to France, the Saarland becomes a mandate under the League of Nations, and the Rhineland becomes demilitarized territory. Next, social divisions, right? So kind of going with that impact of war idea, right? The end of World War One in Germany is super tumultuous times, right? There are riots in the streets of Berlin where we've got all of these different political upheavals because they know that the end is near in Germany and that they're World War One is not going as planned anymore. So this is super polarizing events in Germany at the time, right? We've got a huge socioeconomic gap between the working class and the wealthy upper class in Germany, and that's going to create again a lot of socioeconomic tensions, right? Going into some of the specifics about those revolts in Germany, we've got the Spartacists and the very left leaning part of Germany that wants uh, uh, a Soviet style rebellion in Germany to bring socialism and communism and Marxist Leninism into the fold, right? Then we've got the Cap, who are super right leaning and want the Kaiser to come back, even though he's already abdicated his throne. Later on, this is going to contribute to the idea of the Freikorps, right? That paramilitary group that takes hold of Germany and prevents a lot of armed rebellions from the left from coming into power, right? And while all of this is going on, the Social Democrats are going to flee Berlin to Weimar Germany and sign the Weimar Republic into constitutional law. Next, we've got economic factors. Again, this is a big role. This, if it were me, this is my centralized thesis. This is the most important part of Hitler's rise to power, right? The reparations are going to cripple the German economy, right? They lose this whole battle before it even starts, right? As soon as reparations are written into the Treaty of Versailles, Germany cannot recover from that. Right by 22, the Ruhr crisis is going to take place, and the French are going to invade the Ruhr region, leading to the hyperinflation crisis. But then Germany pulls out of it, right? Gustav Stresemann comes around and ushers in the golden age of the Weimar Republic, the golden age of the Weimar Republic, right? He changes the currency. He signs the Dawes Act with the United States, which allows him to pump prime the German economy and really start build up a lot of public works projects, which helps fix that hyperinflation crisis. And they also sign the Young Plan under Stresemann, which allows Germany to lessen those monthly payments of reparations, right? Stresemann does a lot of other things, but that's not for this topic. Then we get to the stock market crash of 1929. We know, right? We talked about it in class. We've got the graph on the PowerPoint presentation. The Nazi vote share is going to go up tremendously because of the economic depression, right? The economic depression in 1929, 1930, 1931 are going to give Nazis political power in Germany. They were popular beforehand, but had no political power. Now they've got political power because they're starting to get votes. Unemployment in 1929 is 17 million. By 1933, when Hitler takes over, it's down to 8 million. Okay. Next, weakness of the political systems. Again, this is very repetitive. All of this kind of goes hand in hand here, right? Wilhelm II is going to abdicate the throne at the end of World War One. The Weimars, like I said, they're going to flee. The Social Democrats, I should say, are going to flee Berlin to Weimar Germany. They're going to sign the Constitution. The Constitution has some inherent weaknesses in it. They sign a proportional democracy, which is going to give a lot of different parties say in the government. It's not a two-party system like the United States, which has its flaws, but proportional democracy has a lot of flaws because it's way too many voices for one government to kind of be super effective, especially when times get hard. They create the Reichstag as the legislative body, and then they've got Article 48, which gives the emergency powers over to the government. That's the oh shit button, as we talked about in class. And then again, it's created during political upheaval. So we've got the Kapp Putsch and the Spartacist Rebellion that are going to happen immediately after the Weimar signs itself into constitution. Right? I gave you guys some specifics of German political parties just to give you the vernacular one more time. So the SPD are the Social Democrats. They're the ones who create the Weimar government. That is, Ebert is going to be the president of that party. We've got the DAP, and that's Anton Drexler. That's the German Workers' Party. That's going to kind of evolve or devolve, however you want to say it, into the NSDAP, the National Socialist German Workers' Party. That's going to be headed up by Hitler later on. We've got the DVP, which is the Liberal Conservative Party, and that is Stresemann's party when he's going to come to power in the German government and usher in that golden age. We've got the Zentrum, which is the Catholic Party, and we've got the KPD, which is the Communist Party. That's it for episode 1. I'm going to come back in a few minutes and do the second part of the bullet point. Hope this helped.